HPE GreenLake is an edge-to-cloud platform from Hewlett Packard Enterprise. It offers customers a flexible pay-per-use compute infrastructure with configurations to suit almost any workload.
Hello and welcome to our podcast conversation with PKA Technologies, Inc. executives. We will be talking about their recent successful partnership with Hewlett Packard Enterprise. PKA is a very successful platinum partner for HPE and has been delivering HPE solutions wrapped with IT consulting and whatever other additional IT technologies are needed by their clients around the world. My name is Joe Vidal, and I'm a master technologist in the Office of the North America CTO at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and I'm happy to be accompanied today by two guests. I've got Patrick Shelley, the Director of Enterprise Solutions at PKA Technologies, and Felise Katz, the CEO of PKA Technologies. So let me turn to Felise first. Felise, I'm sure our listeners would love to hear about the HP relationship from you. So please tell us a little bit about how long PKA has been a channel partner with HPE. And you guys are a reseller, integrator. Tell us a little bit about your business and that relationship.
Sure. So first of all, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity and appreciate the opportunity really to talk about the solutions and the things that we're doing together, the collaboration. So PKA is around for 26 years. We've been, providing enterprise solutions for many different clients, both in the commercial and the public sector space. What's really critical when a solution provider is out there is really looking for the right partner to collaborate with, to bring to the end user customer. And we look and we have continued to look and depend on our relationship with HPE to provide this type of necessary relationship to give them the security, the enablement to grow their business, to really get rid of their old IT real estate, to keep them in a secure environment, and it's very challenging. I can tell you that for the 26 years that we've been doing this, we have been a platinum partner since the inception, and we love it. We're extremely passionate about our customers, and moreover, extremely passionate about the solutions that we provide them. So having that dependable partnership and relationship is integral to what we do every single day.
That's absolutely right, Felise. And you bring up a great point. HPE has only had the platinum level defined for a few years now, right? You guys were gold for so many years because that was the highest level. Then as soon as we defined platinum, another level, meaning that you're selling the entire portfolio from Hewlett Packard Enterprise, right? And you guys do that so well. And speaking of which, I know you've had several recent great successes with us. So do me a favor. I know you've been selling also HPE's GreenLake private cloud solutions, and those are something that everybody wants to hear a little bit more about. And we've had recent news article with you, right, on a recent win, Trinchero Family Estates Winery. I understand that Patrick Shelley was actually the lead account exec on that. He discovered a business need at Trinchero Family Estates in Napa Valley. So if you don't mind, I'd like to turn to Patrick Shelley real quickly. We'll come right back to you, Felise, I promise. And please feel free to jump in here because I'd like to hear a little bit more about the solutions and the business need that led to TFE or Trinchero Family Estates and PKA coming to HPE to solve their growth issues, their business needs, and really the growth issues through the season of COVID, right? Everybody in the alcohol business, especially the wine business, has done very, very well through COVID. I mean, let's face it, right? We're all spending more time at home, and why not, right? So, Patrick, thanks once again for joining me today. So I'm sure the viewers have all heard about how HPE's GreenLake solution, private cloud, that comes to you and doesn't force you to decide between staying in your data center or expanding to the cloud. You get both with HPE GreenLake, and I know you've brought that solution to Trinchero Family Estates. So how did that happen? What were their business needs?
Yeah, sure. So, Joe, thanks for having me first off. I think this solution, more than any other in the past, was more about business than the actual technology behind it. There's three main drivers, that led to this, and the biggest thing for them was, that sold them on GreenLake, was the on-site buffer, right? The fact that they have, 20% on-site that they can use. There's no more long procurement CapEx cycles. Instantly ready to spin up, whether they're growing internally, whether they acquire other wineries. that stuff's all sitting on site ready for them to use.
And by the way, that's one of the biggest benefits of going to cloud in general, right? So when people are thinking about traditional IT in a private environment, they don't necessarily think about that. So go on.
Yeah, sure. The second biggest thing is the show back, right? So that they have a bunch of different departments there, and it's kind of, before it was the kind of wild west. They asked for this much storage, this much vCPUs, this much memory, and they gave it to them, but they had really no good idea of what each of the departments were actually using out of their resources. And now with GreenLake Central, they can go in, they can show back each of these departments, hey, this is what you're using every single month, right? And it's easy for them to go and do internal chargeback to these departments and show them, that this is what they're using on a monthly basis. So that was a good thing for them to have. That's not something they never had in the past. And it's easier for them to be able to justify some of the charges to the different internal departments. And then the third biggest thing is predictable pricing. If anyone has been pricing servers over the last year, the changes have been,
skyrocketing, right? Yeah. And it's all about availability, right?
Bingo. So, Trinchero for the next 5 years knows what their pricing is, right? If they bring on, more storage, more compute, et cetera, that's already built out for them. So they don't have to worry about shifts in IT, price variance. It's predictable for them to know that, for the next 5 years or longer, this is what their bill is going to look like, and they can proactively look at that. If they know they're bringing on another project, they can kind of predictably price it out without it being this massive exercise of going through trying to get a CapEx and trying to figure out what they're going to need and over provisioning for it every single project. It's easy for them to just look and say, this is what I'm going to need, and predictably price it out.
Right. So basically, they needed to rein in their IT costs, but also be able to identify which business units were using what IT resources. And this, they're not alone. There are a lot of companies that are having these same issues. But the difference with Trinchero Family Estates, as you mentioned, is they've been around for 70 years. Most people don't realize they're the second largest family-owned winery, the fourth largest overall in the world. Trinchero Family Estates in Napa Valley is one that's been around for a long, long time. So they've been doing business and been there in the business also of IT. And now they're able to finally, with your help, with the help of PKA and Hewlett Packard Enterprise, now able to focus on their business, which is the business of the family estate winery, and not have to worry about the IT and not have to worry about where they're going to get those next couple servers or next storage, farm or next few hard drives, which as hard as things are to get right now because of COVID and the lack of resources and components and manufacturing process all around the globe. Having that extra 20% buffer is huge. And
yeah,
go ahead.
It was also very interesting when we sat down with the CFO and we had a conversation. One thing that came up was in the past, they had so over-provisioned their IT requirements that so much of their capacity was sitting there doing nothing. And
wasting money.
Wasting money, exactly. And this took a tremendous amount of money, put it back into their budget, into their spend, and made them highly efficient. That was a huge point for them as well. And Patrick did a great job of explaining and talking about it, and it resonated with them, not only certainly from the IT side, but on the balance sheet. So that's when you talk about the business, when you talk about profit and loss, that's really key for commercial customers as well.
Right. And I know, Patrick, you mentioned that they were looking for additional compute. They were looking for additional storage. So how important was security to the overall solution that they were looking for?
Oh, that's everything. They've built an internal, security infrastructure that they didn't want to not be able to use, right? So the beauty of GreenLake being on-prem and, the security infrastructure that they built, right, that they believed in, they're able to put this infrastructure behind it, right? Not worrying about it being in a cloud and where it is in the cloud and all that, the other stuff that comes around being in the cloud. They can, director of IT tells me he could sleep because he knows this stuff is behind the infrastructure that he built out, that he believes in, that, he tested out and has done all his intrusion detection on.
Yes.
So, the fact that this stuff is sitting behind that stuff, is good. And he actually reached out to me the other day too, telling me that he was playing around in GreenLake Central with cloud and looking at his costs in the cloud. And he was able to save the company a lot of money by saying, hey, this workload's costing us this much to run in the cloud. If we bring it into GreenLake, it's only going to cost us this much. So now he's starting to play around with a lot of the other features within GreenLake and realizing the full benefits of GreenLake.
That's right. So you just brought up something, and I'm going to ask both of you, Felise and Patrick, to just kind of tell me a little bit more about this. So you mentioned that the CFO is looking at the cost of their other public cloud resource providers and what they're charging them, not just using the GreenLake Central dashboard to look at the IT infrastructure that we've placed on site in their private cloud. We're giving them visibility to all their clouds. So how are they using that, and how different is that making the business of planning that IT? Felise, let me ask you.
So it just, from day-to-day operations, when anybody in management or at the CFO, CIO, CTO, president of the company looks at the financials, this is just the key. It's instrumental to running a business. Efficiency is, we're all on a digital transformation journey, right? Every single customer, whether, regardless of what they're doing and who they're servicing, and to become a more efficient operation for their bottling plan, to produce more with less, that is absolutely incredible. And that's what it does for them at the end of the day, right? And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that type of success for our clients. And that's the only thing, GreenLake, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, that's the only product out there that really does this for them and enables a customer to get to that level.
Okay, so Felise, great conversation, and it's nice to understand the CEO or executive's view and understanding of our, we'll call it the GreenLake Central Cloud Services portal. But Patrick, let me ask you. So the client obviously had compute needs, storage needs, network growth needs, and the ability to have a security view. The nice thing is that GreenLake Central from HPE allows you to have all those different views. So how important was that to TFE to be able to have multiple different views and not force a difference in administrative privileges or a difference in a change in how they do IT?
Well, that's one of the problems that they were having in the past, right? Is everything being so siloed and figuring out rights and who has access to this, this and that. And at times the director of IT was having trouble getting information or seeing the different things that he needed to be able to see on a daily basis. And with GreenLake Central, that resolves that, right? So he's got one pane of glass that he can go in. He can, take a look at everything, and, he doesn't have to worry about, getting access to this or reaching out to this person so that he could show him, hey, walk over to my computer and I'll show you this. He doesn't have to worry about stuff anymore. That was a big deal for them as well.
Well, and we'll want to make sure that we give them access to the mobile app too, right? Because there is mobile app access, right? He doesn't have to actually walk to the computer to do that anymore. So, but that's a beautiful, and you know what? When you're walking across the estate or the winery and the vineyards, you don't want to have to leave that beautiful environment just to have to go look at a dashboard, right? How nice would it be to be walking down those beautiful vines in between those rows as depicted on their homepage? And we'll point people to that at the end here. But let me just change gears just a little and turn back to Felise, because Felise, I know, Trinchero Family Estates isn't the only solution win that you've had with HPE and HPE GreenLake. I understand that you recently had a win with Essex County. So tell me what they were experiencing and what brought them to PKA and HPE.
So we have a great relationship with Essex County. It really started at the edge side with Aruba, and we have been working on their wireless and switch environment all throughout their campus, everything from their golf course to their ice skating rink and all their, municipality. And I was sitting with the CIO once and having a conversation about his journey with Essex and what it meant from a digital transformation. They were still using, I don't know if you remember these yellow envelopes for human resources where everybody had a file, and inside were, their. Yeah. And
yes, the distribution list was manually written with each name, and you check your name off and hand it to the next person. I remember those.
Yeah. And it was just incredible. And I'm saying to myself, oh my goodness, where can we take Essex County? And it was just like limitless. So the challenge was, with Essex County, they have 23 agencies. How do you incorporate all these agencies, from the police department to social services to, human resources to they have high schools underneath them to district attorney's office? How do you incorporate all these under one roof? Mm-hmm. Give them what they need in terms of, being able to schedule out the chargebacks, give them a secure environment, give them the management they require, give them a predictable, uptime, because the CIO had to offer SLAs to all these agencies to bring them underneath.
Absolutely.
Well, GreenLake was the solution, and it was just an absolutely incredible. It took a long time. It took a village to make this solution happen.
Well, you had to bring them into the 20th century first, right? Or the 21st century, I should say, right?
Absolutely. But yeah. We're finally there with them. And it's a very interesting, because this one really brought them in from the edge all the way into their compute and storage environment. And, we are looking forward to great success with them as this deploys and gets out there. And so far, so good. It's just, again, Patrick can talk more about the technical, but it is, it's synergy on the compute side. It's nimble on the storage side. Aruba is included. Backup is included. It's a complete end-to-end solution for them. And they have, I think, close to 900,000 constituents in the county. Okay, wow. So think about responsibility, just that falls under that,
sure.
Which is just amazing.
I love everything you're saying. And in fact, what it sounds like you're saying is PKA reached out to HPE for the edge to cloud solution that was going to bring Essex County up into the 21st century, and at the same time streamline everything that they do in all their multiple governmental agencies or departments across Essex County. And obviously there's a lot of needs there. So Patrick, tell me a little bit about how important was the technology behind the solution to Essex County, or did they care at all?
They cared about the solution, right? So as Felise mentioned, it's synergy, nimble, and Aruba switches, but they're very familiar with the technology. They use blade systems in their environment and 3PAR. So they want to stick around, that kind of enterprise.
So this was a long-term HPE customer, it sounds like, especially if they had blade system, right? Understanding it and stuck with that, and then went with synergy, composable infrastructure, right? And then brought that into an HPE GreenLake private cloud solution. So how are they using this private cloud solution, and had they looked at other clouds?
Yeah. So absolutely. I mean, we were competing against every single public cloud that was out there, down to the wire, till when they closed and signed the statement of work. It was very, very challenging. They were comparing costs. What does it mean? Egress costs. What does it mean if I'm going to bring my data back in? Wait a second. With the HPE GreenLake, I don't have to do that. I don't have to pay that cost. But yet with the public cloud, that's going to cost me a ton of money, and that's going to cost, obviously, the constituents a lot of money, right? Because it flows downhill.
It's the Trojan horse of public cloud. Yes.
Yeah. So that was a tremendous thing. I think it was, again, from the business standpoint, it was the CIO having the comfort level and the security that they know that they were going with absolutely a tier one solution that he was in control of. Okay. And that was, critically important, and security, of course. And they had been hacked during COVID, so multiple times. So with many, many sleepless nights. And really having a complete understanding of what was going on in their environment, that's spoke volumes to them.
Well, and that's a great point. Obviously, the Zero Trust framework that's wrapped around all of the GreenLake private cloud solutions right now, we use the HPE Lighthouse solution set with a Zero Trust framework in everything that we define as a Lighthouse solution within GreenLake private cloud. So that obviously gave Essex County the security to know that we're kind of on the wall for them, right? They've got HPE, they've got PKA on that wall for them so that they can sleep well at night, as Patrick said. So Patrick, you brought up something when talking about the Essex County in the hack that they had. So in the solution that we delivered, did we deliver a better DR, automated DR solution, or a backup solution that's going to protect them from a potential hack in the future?
Yeah, 100%. So we included Store Once and Veeam to do the backups. With Store Once, obviously it includes Catalyst, right? So they felt really comfortable about Catalyst and the fact that it runs its own unique protocol, right? That isn't open source or known out there, that hackers are kind of looking to crack. So the whole story around Catalyst, and the Veeam backup to the Store Once is really what made sense for that.
Right. And the nice thing about that solution is it's going to allow them to back up, right? So if they ever do get infected again, or if their data gets encrypted, they can always go back in time and restore to that. And not only that, because it is a Catalyst-based Store Once appliance, it's going to be one that naturally creates an immutable backup copy. And immutable backup copies and mutability is really key right now in today's environment that's so hacker-centric, right? And everybody's at risk these days. It's huge business. So thank you for adding that in, Patrick. So any last comments, Patrick or Felise, that you'd like to share with our crowd?
So, again, I'll go back to partnership. We could never do this by ourselves. We depend on Hewlett Packard Enterprise to bring forward these type of solutions so that we can offer them to our clients. And it becomes a triangular relationship, which stands up and really enables the customers, because that's what it's all about, right? We're here for our customers. We're here to enable them from the edge all the way into their environments, give them the security, give them the sleep at night, and also be price competitive. We have to be able to make sure that we're giving them more than certainly public cloud can give them, because it's, public cloud is the easy button, right? You just, press the button and away you go. This is not so simple. So this has just really been truly, again, an enabler, for our customers. And, we're very grateful for our relationship. We're very, very grateful. Our customers are very grateful for our relationship. And it really brings, to home about partnership. Partnership is so key. And, we depend, and our customers depend, and we feel very good about it. So thank you.
Oh, that's fantastic, Felise, and thank you for sharing that. Well, I don't know about all of you listening in or watching this podcast, but I've learned a lot about how PKA and Hewlett Packard Enterprise can partner together to solve a wide variety of business problems, all while delivering, as you just heard, a secure private cloud environment that delivers the best of both worlds, the flexibility and security of private IT infrastructure while leveraging the cost savings of the cloud, or the cost savings and economic savings of the cloud, allowing IT to be able to instantaneously respond to business growth, all while reining in IT costs in a secure fashion. So I'd like to thank my two guests, Felise Katz and Patrick Shelley, for joining me today. You can find out more about PKA Technologies, Inc. at pkatech.com. That's pkatech.com. And of course, you can also find out more about HPE and HPE's GreenLake private cloud, the cloud that comes to you, at hpe.com/GreenLake. Thank you for watching our interview today. Again, my name is Joe Vidal. You can reach me with any questions at jov@hpe.com. And I ask all of you to do three things: stay safe, stay happy, and stay healthy, but do not stay thirsty. Life's too short. Thanks a lot for your time today.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe.